Hi, and welcome to the Empower Women Show with Jane Trimble. Our mission is to empower women by showcasing their business and hearing their story. And today I have Kirby Criddle from Illuminara Wellness and Moonhouse Women's Healing Arts. Welcome, Kirby.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Would you like to just share who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Oh, yes, sure. I do many things,
Yes.
but yeah, my name is Kirby. I live here in Saskatoon.
Yeah.
And for today's purposes, probably, I could say that I'm a trauma integration specialist and a women's pelvic health practitioner. I do lots of other things like relationship coaching. I approach trauma integration through the lens of energy healing and balancing.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, as we've discussed in the past, I'm a musician. I do lots of different things, but I'm guessing we're probably just going to talk about the Illuminara Moonhouse stuff today. So
Yes,
yeah.
amazing. Okay, so you're from Saskatoon.
I've lived here since I was 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did you live before that?
I was born in Regina, and then my family
Oh.
moved around a bunch.
Okay.
And so I feel like Saskatoon is my home.
Yeah.
I've settled here.
Yeah.
But yeah, when people say, "Oh, you're from here," like they want to know what school I went to and if we grew up with the same people, and probably we didn't. But
Yeah.
I would say now I feel from Saskatoon.
Amazing. Okay, cool. And what brought you to Saskatoon? Do you have a family here?
I don't really have family here. I think I just when I came back to Saskatchewan, it was like the closest city to where my partner was going to school at the time, and so that's what brought me here, and then I just ended up staying. And yeah.
And what do you love about living in Saskatoon?
There are actually quite a few things that I love. Probably the people, first and foremost. I didn't really realize until I was like touring as a musician that people in the prairies are really special. You know, I remember some of my first tours, I would like hold doors for people in like Vancouver, and they would kind of like snort at me, and I'd be like, "Oh, I thought I was being so kind and generous," and they're like, you know, here you can just like kind of say hi to anyone, and it's reciprocated.
I totally agree.
You know, it's
The people.
The people. The people really, really make it a special place. I know a lot of people don't love the winter, but I kind of do. I love cross-country skiing. I love winter walks. I love hoarfrost. I think it looks really magical. Winter sunrises and sunsets are so beautiful. It would be great if winter was a little shorter maybe, but I do like it. And our growing season is beautiful. You know, we don't have the longest growing season, but I love gardening. And because it gets so hot here for like a short duration, we can have like really prolific harvests that are also amazing. So yeah, I would say that those are some of the things I love. And the river. I spend a ton of time at and in the river when it's warm out. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's really special.
That's so cool. Okay, so rewind though. You mentioned you're a musician, so I wanted you to come here to share with us about what you do in your sort of healing wellness space. But did you start out as a musician and then fall in? What came first?
I would say that I've always had an awareness of energy, like since I was a child. And like I would see things and then talk to my family about them, and they would be like, "We're not seeing those things." And I think that maybe made me nervous. And so I put those things away for a little while. And then I leaned more into music. And then when I was 17, I met someone who showed me this book called Hands of Light by Barbara Brennan.
Cool.
And I opened the pages and I was like, that's what I used to see as a kid. So it was just pictures of auras and different energy bodies and things, and it all kind of came flooding back. And then, you know, as time went on, I realized that music and energy work aren't really different. They're the same thing, just called by a different name or thought of differently maybe. But when a musician interacts with their audience or a practitioner interacts with their client, you're doing the same magic.
You're moving energy, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that's when I maybe started to be even more intentional about playing music and the impact I was having on my audience.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I think probably that was also where I started to see more success and interest, because even though I was playing sad songs, mostly I write sad folk songs, people would say, I feel so good after coming to your show. And I'd be like, gotcha.
Totally.
Yeah.
So they were saying, I feel so good after your show,
Yeah.
but what was your awareness of what was happening?
That I was just clearing the field.
Clearing the field.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So dive into that. What do you mean when you say clearing the field?
When I say clearing the field, I just mean tuning into the moment and doing what's asked of me.
Wow.
So I don't have a preconceived notion, much in the same way that when I treat a client, I think part of the reason that people have limited success with their clients or patients is because they take their education and they make a lens or a series of lenses that they try to then picture the person through. Right? I don't do that. I just look at the person in front of me and listen. It sort of feels like I'm flipping a switch in my brain. It's not on all the time. Like as we're sitting here right now, like you haven't given me permission to tune in, so I'm not doing that. But if you did, then I would like flip that switch. Yeah, that's really the only way I can describe it. It's not really like it's not an actual switch, but it just feels like I'm accessing a different part of my brain or something.
Yes.
And then things start to come forward and I can feel things in my body and I can see things in yours or around you. And that's kind of, that informs all of my work.
So beautiful. Okay, so you said you were aware of this energy when you were young. So what was that energy and how did it manifest back then? And then I want to fast forward into how is it now? Was it a gift that you developed? Was it something that was there? No, okay, it was just there.
I think I don't want to go too much into my upbringing, just lest I say things that are upsetting to people who are involved in it as well.
Got it.
But I will say that when you have a series of traumatic experiences before your nervous system is developed enough to withstand that amount of charge, it shapes you in a way.
Yeah.
You know, I think typically for children who are well-resourced, they would have different experiences that allows them to kind of desensitize. I think we probably all have these skills. And I also, I'm not really unique in that, like anybody can learn to do what I do, I believe. You know, I teach people to do it all the time.
Beautiful.
They're gonna do it maybe slightly differently than I do it, but the skill is something that like we all have inside of us. We just have to know that it's possible and practice. That's it. I've just been practicing for a really long time. That's why I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
But I think, so I think just, you know, my nervous system developed differently.
Yeah.
And I think if you think about it, if a child is looking at what adults are saying, but also reading the room for the discrepancy, you're going to hone that skill.
Totally.
Right? So if you think about it in that way, it's just really good practice.
It is.
It's really good practice.
You're kind of putting words to stuff that I've kind of thought about. You're defining and putting words to stuff that, has kind of been on my, you know, I've kind of had awareness of as well.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's dive into Illuminara Wellness first. So what is that?
So Illuminara is, a number of years ago, I was just trying to think of a name because the Kirby Criddle name was pretty much reserved for music. I was like, I need something else to sort of point to when I'm talking about my energy work and somatic work and different things like that. So similarly to how I named my children, I just asked the business what its name was, and Illuminara popped in my head, and then I Googled it. I was like, what is this word? And it's not a real word as far as I know. I couldn't find it, but it was like, illuminate. Like
beautiful.
Yeah, and it just made sense because so much of what my work is doing is just working to make the unconscious conscious, because then you know what to do with it.
Okay.
Right? And so much of the time, I think people are nervous about what lives in the shadow or the unconscious or subconscious, but you can't do anything about it if you're afraid of it trying to pretend it doesn't exist, running from it. But when you look at it, it's often not as scary as you thought it was going to be, or you find that you're actually just scared of the fear itself. What you find isn't actually scary at all. And there's usually a gift in it that you actually need to become your full, authentic, essential self.
Beautiful.
So yeah, it's really a lot more fulfilling, I think, and less scary than people realize.
So, and what form does it take? Is it one-on-one work? Is it groups? Is it?
Yeah, I work one-on-one with people. I work with couples, and I also work with groups, like workshops and courses and different things like that.
So it's just up to the person who contacts you what form?
It's up to the person or whatever they need or whatever I might be running at the time. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then the Moonhouse Women's Healing Arts, what's that?
So Moonhouse Women's Healing Arts is refers more to my clinic space. So that's more like women's pelvic health. So I do pelvic floor body work with like a holistic integrative lens.
Okay.
I did a 200-hour pelvic training and then an advanced pelvic training a couple of years ago with Baudouin bodywork. I think probably maybe 13 or 14 years ago, I started to notice that women pattern trauma differently than men. And when I say trauma, I don't just mean like you've been traumatized and you have this one event that you're struggling to process, because so many things live in the body and the field as trauma. It can just be even we're too busy or we're too overwhelmed to process something, so we don't fully put it down emotionally or energetically, and then it just sits waiting for us to come back to tend to it when we have the resources or the capacity. And most of us, because when we relax, the first thing we do is we want to pick up our phone and go for a scroll. So our nervous system's not getting relaxation, right? We're getting more stimulated, even though our body's sedentary. So we're actually not getting to close a lot of those loops that we do if we're kind of, more focused on relaxation and actually like coming back into the body.
So who would come to you for the pelvic work then?
Women who are trying to get pregnant.
Oh.
Yeah, so I do a lot of work supporting women with fertility. Last year, I was able to help 21 women get pregnant, over half of whom were told they would never have a baby, totally infertile.
Kirby, this is amazing. You're a miracle worker.
It is amazing. It is amazing. Yeah, I feel so fortunate to do what I do. Thanks.
I love it.
Yeah, actually, this month, I will get to attend a birth, and then here in Saskatoon. Yeah. And then in 2 months, I'm going to go to Vancouver Island and attend another client's birth. I don't really do birth work anymore like I used to, but these women are just too important to me to not get to be there. So I'm going to do it. It's going to be great.
I love it. You are amazing.
Thank you.
Now, if someone wanted to get in touch with you, wanted to work with you or find out more, how do they do that?
Yeah, honestly, Instagram is probably the easiest way to find me. It's just Kirby Criddle.
Okay. Kirby Criddle, how do you spell that?
KirbyCriddle.
Perfect, okay.
Yeah, it's really, really simple. I'm not super, I don't know, I just kind of like try to make the tech stuff easy. Yeah. I don't have a bunch of places to find me, a bunch of forms to fill out. Simple. Just like keep it simple.
Good.
The work is really what needs to be complex sometimes.
Yes.
You know, I help women get pregnant, but I also help women avoid things like LEEP procedures, like pelvic surgeries, hysterectomies, different things like that. Wow. A lot of people don't know that if you have a pelvic organ prolapse, you can repair that with your hands. You don't need a surgery necessarily. Wow. In a lot of cases, you don't need surgical intervention at all. So I teach women how to lift their own bladder, and that can be done externally. You don't always need internal work, but sometimes you do. Yeah. But I can also teach women or their partners to do the work. I think probably when I did notice that women pattern trauma differently, what I noticed was that, psychosomatic is like a layperson's term, right? We all know what that means. Yeah. For women, it's psychosomatic pelvic. So you can do the psychosomatic adjustment and repair, but if you don't address the pelvic piece, it's just going to keep cropping up. Yeah. It's just going to keep coming back. But interestingly, when you address the pelvis first, or like in conjunction, the other pieces tend to resolve on their own. Yeah. That doesn't mean, by the way, that we can isolate the pelvis. I don't just focus on the pelvis. I treat the pelvis as part of the whole body system. As community, right? Including energy bodies. I think that's maybe another reason that people don't have success is they just lop off the whole energy thing. They don't realize how vital and integral it is to a woman's health. And that's not just health in a physical sense. That's like, that impacts your relationships, that impacts your business, that impacts so many things. How fulfilled you feel in your own life. You know, having that connection to body and connection to pelvis, which is like, you know, where our vital force comes from.
Life force.
Yeah. Yeah, we need, it passes through the pelvis on its way to other areas of the body. So if we're going to be able to make use of it in its most vibrant, radiant form, we need that open space.
We do.
Yeah.
What a great note to close our time together. I feel like we could have, I want to spend, can I come back to Saskatoon and just
Yes,
spend
please.
a week with you?
I hope so.
And make music together.
That'd be amazing too.
So thank you for coming today, and thank you for watching the Empower Women Show, where we like to empower and elevate women in the community by sharing their story and showcasing their business. We'll see you next time. And Queens belong on thrones. Let's put them there.